I'm standing in a police station at 2 in the morning with my 5-year-old grandson asleep in my arms, and 3 officers are telling me I've committed felony kidnapping. My daughter-in-law Rebecca is crying, those perfect tears that never smudge her makeup. My son Daniel stands beside her, his hand on her shoulder, looking at me like I'm a stranger, like I'm the monster. But they haven't seen what I've seen. They haven't been down to the dark place. Mrs. Patterson, the detective says, his voice gentle but firm. You need to put the boy down and come with us. I hold Ethan tighter. He stirs against my chest, his small hand clutching my cardigan. Even in sleep, he won't let go. No, I whisper, not until you listen, not until you see. The detective exchanges a glance with the other officers. I know how this looks. I'm a 63-year-old woman who broke into her son's house, took her grandson in the middle of the night, and drove 2 hours to the police station instead of calling 911. I look insane, but let me tell you how I got here. It started 6 weeks ago at Sunday dinner. I'd been making pot roast every Sunday for 35 years. After my husband Tom died last spring, these dinners became my lifeline. Daniel would bring Rebecca and Ethan over, and for a few hours, my house wouldn't feel so empty. Ethan was playing with his toy trucks on the living room floor while I set the table. He was making engine noises, that beautiful sound of a child lost in imagination. Then he crashed 2 trucks together and said, so casually, boom, now you go to the dark place. I smiled. Oh no, is that like timeout? He looked up at me with those serious brown eyes, Tom's eyes. Mommy's dark place is different. It's cold, and it smells like the washing. He wrinkled his nose. Like laundry detergent? I asked, still not concerned. Rebecca was particular about cleanliness. A laundry room timeout wasn't unusual. No, he returned to his trucks. Like when milk goes bad. Mommy says I'm bad when I go there. Something in my chest tightened, but Rebecca called from the kitchen, asking about serving dishes, and the moment passed. I should have paid attention. God forgive me. I should have listened. Over the next few weeks, Ethan mentioned the dark place 3 more times. Always in passing, always matter of fact. The way children talk about their normal. Mommy says if I don't eat my carrots, I'll go to the dark place. I don't like the dark place. It's too cold. Sometimes Mommy forgets I'm in the dark place. She says I'm quiet like Daddy wants. Each time, I felt that tightening in my chest, but Rebecca was so loving when I saw them together. She'd stroke Ethan's hair, call him my sweet boy, pack his lunch with little notes, and Daniel seemed happy. Tired from his pharmaceutical sales job, but happy. I told myself I was being paranoid. After Tom died, my therapist said grief could make you see threats everywhere. I was probably projecting my own fears of abandonment onto my grandson's innocent comments. Then came the phone call that changed everything. It was a Tuesday afternoon in late October. I was volunteering at the library, my weekly routine since retirement from teaching, when Daniel called. Mom, I know this is last minute, but Rebecca's grandmother in Michigan had a fall. She needs to drive up there tonight, and I have a client dinner I can't miss. Could you possibly watch Ethan? Just overnight. We'd pick him up tomorrow after lunch. My heart lifted. Of course, sweetheart. Bring him over whenever you need. Actually, would you mind coming to our house? Ethan's been fighting a cold, and all his things are here. His nebulizer, his stuffed bear, his night light. I hesitated. In the 8 months since Tom's death, I'd avoided staying overnight anywhere. My own bed, my own walls, they were my fortress against the grief. But this was for Ethan. I'll be there by 6, I said. Daniel and Rebecca's house was a pristine colonial in a development called Meadowbrook Estates. Every lawn was manicured, every mailbox identical. Rebecca had decorated with that sterile perfection you see in magazines, gray and white everything. Throw pillows that were never thrown. When I arrived, Ethan ran to me, and I scooped him up. He felt smaller than he had 2 weeks ago at Sunday dinner. Grandma, his face lit up, and the tightness in my chest eased. See, he's fine. He's happy. Rebecca was already in her coat, designer bag over her shoulder. Thank you so much for this, Linda. You're a lifesaver. She kissed Ethan's forehead. Be good for Grandma. Remember what we talked about. Something flickered across Ethan's face. His smile faltered. What did you talk about? I asked lightly. Just that he needs to listen and not give you any trouble. Rebecca's smile was perfect, but it didn't reach her eyes. He's been testing boundaries lately. If he acts up, there's a timeout space that works well. I'm sure we'll be fine, I said, hugging Ethan closer. After they left, Ethan and I had a wonderful evening. We made spaghetti, his favorite, and he told me about his kindergarten class. He drew me pictures of dinosaurs. We read 3 stories before bed, and he fell asleep holding my hand, his breathing soft and even. I should have been content, but as I sat in their guest room, I couldn't shake a feeling I'd learned to trust over 6 decades of living. Something was wrong in this house. I couldn't sleep. The guest room was comfortable enough, but at 2 a.m., I found myself wandering the hallway, my old insomnia flaring up the way it had since Tom died. That's when I heard it. A small sound. A whimper. I froze, listening. It came again, muffled and far away. Ethan. I hurried to his bedroom, pushed open the door. The night light glowed softly. The bed was empty. My heart hammered. Ethan? Nothing. I checked the bathroom. Empty. Their bedroom. The living room. Kitchen. Ethan. I called louder now, panic rising like bile. Then I heard it again. That whimper. And I realized it was coming from below me. The basement. I'd never been in their basement. During Sunday dinners, we stayed in the main living areas. I didn't even know where the door was. I found it off the kitchen, and my blood went cold. There was a padlock on the outside. A heavy steel padlock. The kind you'd use on a storage unit or shed. On a basement door. From the outside, the whimpering came from behind it. Ethan? My voice cracked. Baby, are you down there? Grandma? His voice was so small, so scared. I had an accident. Mommy says I have to stay until I'm sorry. My hands shook so badly I could barely grip the lock. I yanked on it uselessly, then ran to the kitchen drawers, tearing through them. Flashlights, batteries, take-out menus, but no key. Ethan, sweetie, I'm getting you out. Hold on. I grabbed a hammer from Daniel's garage and brought it down on the lock 3 times before it gave way. The door swung open to reveal steep wooden stairs descending into darkness. I found the light switch. A single bulb flickered on, and what I saw made my knees buckle. The basement was unfinished, concrete floor, exposed beams, the smell of mold and dampness that Ethan had described as bad milk. But it was what I saw at the bottom of the stairs that made me understand the full horror. A dirty mattress on the floor. No sheets, no blanket, just a thin, stained mattress. A plastic bucket in the corner, for a toilet, and scratches. Long, desperate scratches on the inside of the basement door. Some still showing tiny splinters of wood under what looked like dried blood. A 5-year-old had made those marks. Ethan sat on the bottom step, still in his pajamas, hugging himself. His pants were wet. That's what he'd meant by accident. Oh, baby. I made it down those stairs faster than my arthritic knees had moved in years. I scooped him into my arms, and he clung to me like I was the only solid thing in his world. I'm sorry, Grandma. I didn't mean to have an accident. I called for Mommy, but she says I have to learn to hold it. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. I just held him, my mind reeling. How long had this been happening? How many nights had my grandson spent down here in the cold and dark while I sat in my house 2 towns over? Oblivious? I carried Ethan upstairs, changed him into clean pajamas, and wrapped him in Tom's old cardigan that I'd been wearing. He wouldn't let go of me. Are you going to tell Mommy? He whispered. Yes, I said firmly. I'm going to tell everyone. His eyes went wide with terror. No, Grandma, no. She'll be so mad. I'll have to go to the dark place for a long time. Please, Grandma, I'll be good. I promise I'll be good. He was shaking so hard his teeth chattered. That's when I knew I couldn't wait for Daniel to come home. Couldn't call him and have him dismiss it as Rebecca's strict parenting the way I feared he might. My son had changed since marrying Rebecca. He'd become someone who looked away from uncomfortable truths. And I couldn't call the police to the house because they'd ask questions, do an investigation. And in the meantime, what would happen to Ethan? Would they leave him here while they looked into it? Would Rebecca get a warning in time to cover her tracks? I'd been a teacher for 37 years. I'd made exactly 3 reports to Child Protective Services in that time. And I'd watched 2 of those children return to the same homes that hurt them. Lost in a system too slow and too careful. I wasn't going to let that happen to Ethan. So I did the only thing that made sense to my grandmother's heart. Even if it didn't make sense to the law. I packed Ethan's backpack with clothes and his stuffed bear. I wrote a note for Daniel. I have Ethan. He's safe. You need to see what's in your basement. And then I put my grandson in my car and drove 2 hours through the night to the police station in the next county, where I knew Rebecca's father, a prominent local attorney, wouldn't have connections. Now I'm here, and they're telling me I've broken the law. Mrs. Patterson, we understand you're concerned, Detective Martinez says. He's younger than Daniel, with kind eyes that remind me of the students I used to teach. But this isn't the way to handle it. Then what is? I demand. I call my son, who worships his wife. I call your local police, who'll take statements and leave my grandson in that house while they investigate? I've seen how these things go. Detective, I was a teacher for 37 years. Rebecca steps forward, her face the picture of maternal anguish. Linda, I don't know what you think you saw, but Ethan has behavioral issues. Our pediatrician recommended a firm approach to timeouts. He has night terrors. He must have wandered down to the basement during an episode. There was a padlock. I say flatly. On the outside. She doesn't miss a beat. For safety. He started sleepwalking. We couldn't have him wandering outside in the middle of the night. Then why are there scratches on the inside of the door? He panics during his episodes. He doesn't know what he's doing. She's so smooth. So prepared. I realize this isn't the first time she's had to explain away the dark place. Daniel finally speaks, his voice hoarse. Mom, you can't just take my son. Your son was locked in a basement, I say, turning to him, with a bucket for a toilet, on a dirty mattress. You think that's a timeout? For the first time, I see doubt flicker across his face. Daniel. Rebecca touches his arm. You know how she's been since Tom died. The grief, the paranoia. Don't you dare use my dead husband to cover your abuse. I snap, and my voice echoes off the police station walls. Ethan wakes up in my arms. He looks around, sees his parents, and his whole body goes rigid. Am I going home? He whispers. Soon, buddy, Daniel says, stepping toward us. Am I going to the dark place? The room goes silent. Daniel freezes mid-step. What? Your dark place, Ethan says. And his voice is so matter-of-fact it breaks my heart. For running away with Grandma. I know that's really bad. Ethan, honey. Rebecca's voice is strained now. You don't have a dark place. You have a special quiet room where you go when you need to calm down. It's the basement. Ethan interrupts. It smells bad and it's cold and sometimes I'm there a really long time. He looks up at Daniel with those serious brown eyes. Sometimes all night. Daddy, even when I say I'm sorry. I watch my son's face transform. Horror, realization, denial, then horror again. Danny, I say softly, using his childhood name. Look at your son. Really look at him. What happens next happens fast. Detective Martinez asks Ethan gentle questions. Would he draw a picture of his house? Could he show us where the quiet room is? Ethan draws it perfectly. The stairs, the mattress, even the bucket. An officer is dispatched to the house. Daniel rides with them. He doesn't look at Rebecca. Rebecca tries to leave. She's stopped at the door. I sit with Ethan in a child advocacy room, surrounded by toys and soft lighting, while he tells a trained interviewer everything. How Mommy says the dark place is where bad boys go. How sometimes he's there so long he can't hold his pee anymore. How the scratches on the door are from when he was scared and tried to get out. How Mommy says if he ever tells Daddy or Grandma, he'll go to the dark place forever. The interview takes 90 minutes. Through the one-way mirror, I watch Detective Martinez's face harden with each revelation. By dawn, they've photographed the basement, the mattress, the bucket, the scratches. They've found a deadbolt that's been recently installed on the outside of Ethan's bedroom door, a backup containment system. They find Rebecca's journal in her nightstand. I'm not allowed to read it, but I see Detective Martinez's hands shake as he turns the pages. Later, I'll learn that she'd been documenting her parenting methodology. How long isolation was required for different infractions. How children need to be broken of their will to become obedient. How Ethan was particularly stubborn and required extended sessions. She'd been doing this for 18 months. Rebecca is arrested at 6:47 a.m. on charges of child abuse, false imprisonment, and child endangerment. Daniel collapses in a chair outside the interrogation room, his head in his hands. When I approach, he looks up at me with a face I haven't seen since he was a child himself, lost and terrified. Mom, he chokes out. I didn't know. I swear to God, I didn't know. Part of me wants to rage at him. How could you not know? He's your son. But I see the truth in his devastation. Rebecca had been careful. The basement door was always locked with a normal lock when Daniel was home. Ethan's bedtime was early on nights Daniel worked late. The scratches could be explained away. Children have nightmares, and Daniel had wanted so badly to believe his life was perfect. I know, I tell him, even though I'm not sure I fully believe it. But now you do know, and now we protect him. The next 48 hours are a blur of statements, social workers, and emergency custody hearings. I'm not arrested for kidnapping. Detective Martinez becomes my unexpected advocate, telling anyone who'll listen that I potentially saved that child's life. The DA declines to file charges, and I later learn this is partly because Rebecca's arrest is high-profile enough. They don't need the optics of prosecuting a grandmother who was trying to protect her grandson. Daniel files for divorce and sole custody. Rebecca's attorney father tries to intervene, but there's no explaining away the evidence. The photographs, Ethan's testimony, the journal. Ethan is placed temporarily with me while Daniel undergoes parenting classes and therapy. The judge is skeptical of his claims that he didn't know, though not skeptical enough to deny him supervised visitation. I become a student of family law overnight. I learn terms like forensic interview and trauma-informed care. I find Ethan a therapist who specializes in abuse survivors. I enroll him in a new kindergarten near my house, away from Meadowbrook Estates and its perfect facades. The first week is hard. Ethan wakes up screaming every night, trapped in nightmares of the dark place. He wets the bed twice, and each time he sobs that he's sorry, waiting for punishment that I'll never give. You're safe, I tell him, holding him while he shakes. Nobody's going to lock you anywhere, ever again. I promise. What if mommy comes back? She can't, baby. The police won't let her. What if she's mad? Let her be mad. She can't hurt you anymore. It takes 17 nights before he sleeps through without screaming. The trial comes 6 months later. I'm not sure if I should take Ethan, but his therapist, Dr. Sarah Chen, recommends it. He needs to see that the system worked for him. She explains that telling the truth kept him safe. So we sit in the courtroom gallery, and Ethan holds my hand while Rebecca, thin and hard-eyed in her orange jumpsuit, stares straight ahead. The prosecutor presents the evidence methodically. The photographs of the basement, blown up on screens that make the jury gasp. Ethan's drawings. The journal entries read aloud in Rebecca's own handwriting. Subject showed defiance when told to finish vegetables. Required 4-hour basement isolation to correct behavior. Subject wet himself during overnight basement session. Extended session by 3 hours to reinforce continence training. Subject continues to resist protocol. May need to increase isolation duration to achieve behavioral modification. My grandson is referred to as subject throughout, like he's a laboratory animal. Daniel testifies, and I watch him break down on the stand. I thought she was strict. I thought that was good. My own parents were lenient, and I told myself discipline was important. He looks at Ethan. I'm so sorry, buddy. Daddy should have protected you. Rebecca doesn't testify. Her attorney advises against it. The jury deliberates for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judge sentences her to 12 years in prison. In her statement, she calls Rebecca's actions systematic torture of a child who relied on her for love and safety. As they lead Rebecca away, she looks at me for the first time. Her eyes are empty, cold. She mouths something I don't quite catch, but I think it's "he was mine." Ethan squeezes my hand. Can we go home now, Grandma? Yes, baby, we can go home. A year later, Daniel has full custody and has completed his court-mandated programs. He's a different father now, present, watchful, gentle. He and Ethan see each other 3 times a week, and I watch my son slowly rebuild trust with his child. They'll never live together again, though. Ethan made that clear to Dr. Chen and to the family court judge. I want to stay with Grandma, he said. I feel safe there. Daniel didn't fight it. I lost the right to have him full-time. He told me quietly. I should have seen. I should have known. You're seeing now, I said. That's what matters. So Ethan lives with me. His bedroom is painted blue with glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. He has 3 night lights and a baby monitor that he controls. He can turn it off whenever he wants privacy. We never, ever close his door all the way. It's Sunday, and we're making pot roast. Ethan stands on the step stool Tom built 30 years ago, helping me peel carrots. Daniel will be here in an hour. Grandma? Ethan says suddenly. Do you think Mommy still thinks about me? I consider lying, making it easier, But Chin says honesty is crucial for his healing. Probably, I say. But it doesn't matter what she thinks anymore. She can't reach you. I used to love her, he says, and his voice is so small. I know, sweetheart. Is it bad that I don't anymore? I put down my peeler and turned to face him. Listen to me. You loved the mommy you thought you had, the one who made you lunches with notes, who read you stories. That mommy wasn't real. The real one hurt you. And you don't have to love people who hurt you. Not ever. He thinks about this, his face serious. Then he nods and returns to his carrots. That night, after Daniel leaves and Ethan is asleep, I sit in my living room with a cup of tea and Tom's photograph. We did it. I whisper to the picture. He's safe. He's healing. I think about all the ways this could have gone differently. If I hadn't stayed over that night. If I hadn't heard him whimpering. If I'd talked myself out of what I saw. Told myself Rebecca's explanation made sense. If I'd been too afraid to break the law to save him. They call me a hero now. The local news did a story. And strangers recognize me at the grocery store. But I don't feel like a hero. I feel like a grandmother who almost missed the signs. Who almost let her grandson suffer in silence because she didn't want to cause family drama. But I didn't miss them. Not in the end. And that has to be enough. 2 years after the arrest, Ethan is 7 years old and thriving. He still sees Dr. Chin once a week. And probably will for years. He still has nightmares sometimes. Still flinches at raised voices. But he laughs now. Real, genuine belly laughs that fill my house with joy. He's in 2nd grade and has friends who come over for playdates. Their parents all know our story. It's impossible not to in a town this size. But they don't treat Ethan like he's broken. They're just glad he's safe. Daniel has become the father he should have been from the start. He and Ethan go to baseball games, build Lego sets, have father-son camping trips where I tag along just in case Ethan needs me. The just in case is mostly for my peace of mind now. Rebecca will be eligible for parole in 10 years. Daniel has already filed for a protective order that will keep her away from Ethan even after her release. She'll never touch him again, he says, and I believe him. On a cool October evening, 3 years to the month after I found the padlock, Ethan and I are sitting on the porch swing Tom installed when Daniel was born. We're watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. Grandma? Ethan leans against me. I don't remember the dark place much anymore. My heart aches and soars at the same time. That's good, baby. But I remember you coming to get me. I remember you breaking the lock. You do? He nods. I thought I was going to be there forever. And then I heard you say my name. And I knew everything was going to be okay. I hug him tighter. You're safe now. You'll always be safe. I know. He's quiet for a moment. Then adds, when I grow up, I want to help kids like me. Kids who are scared. You will. I tell him. You're going to do amazing things. We sit there until the stars come out. And I think about all the children who don't have someone to break the locks. Who don't have a grandmother who listens when they mention the dark place. I can't save them all. But I saved this one. And he's going to save others. The judge once asked me, during a hearing, if I regretted taking Ethan that night. If I'd do it differently knowing the legal risk. I didn't hesitate. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. I told her, laws exist to protect children. When they fail, grandmothers have to step up. She smiled at that. Then she granted Daniel full custody with my co-guardianship and closed Rebecca's visitation rights permanently. Tonight, I tuck Ethan into bed in his room with the blue walls and glowing stars. He's clutching the stuffed bear that went with us on our midnight drive to the police station. Love you, Grandma, he says sleepily. Love you more, baby. Love you most. It's our routine now. This back and forth. A promise that love doesn't come with conditions or locks or dark places. I leave his door open just the way he likes it. The hallway light spilling into his room. I can hear him from anywhere in the house. And I listen. I'll always listen. Because sometimes the most important thing a grandmother can do is believe a child when he tells you about the dark place. And then tear down every lock keeping him there. If this story touched your heart, leave a comment below. Share it with someone who needs to hear that protecting children is always the right choice, even when it's the hard one. Subscribe for more stories of ordinary people finding extraordinary courage when the ones they love need them most.